But maybe the Democrats in Virginia are different. Maybe the Democrats in Virginia are the people that said, you know what? We're going to take a comprehensive approach to this. We're going to be the Democrats that try to protect everybody. And you know what? We think guns are a problem, but you know what we also think is a problem? Crime. We think crime is a problem. So we're going to crack down on crime. That's what the Democrats in Virginia did, right? No, that is 100% not what the Democrats in Virginia did. And if you want any proof of that, let's go to Steve Descano. So Steve Descano, our very own George Soros supported Commonwealth's attorney in Fairfax County. He actually had to appear before Capitol Hill because this guy has something of a record of letting people out of jail early, not prosecuting them. Let's look at a couple of cases here. There was Abdul Jalal case. He was a repeat offender with 30 plus prior arrests and many violent charges dropped by Descano's office. So what was he finally brought in for? Oh, murder. Yeah, he murdered a single mother. Yeah, 30 prior arrests. You had local law enforcement warning Descano's office that this guy was a threat, but he had something that Democrats treasure above anything else. He was in the country illegally, so that's why he couldn't be properly prosecuted. He also has various plea deals. So there's actually a thing, if you want to read a study by AEI, American Enterprise Institute, it says Steve Descano, America's worst prosecutor. And he goes, he has dropped violent charges, lenient pleas, and a high rate of not guilty by reason of insanity for killers. Because again, this guy is the guy that is going out there telling everybody that the reason why people commit crime is society's fault, right? It's all you law-abiding citizens that aren't paying enough taxes, that aren't supporting enough government programs. If only we had one more socialist-style government program, then these people wouldn't be going around getting arrested 30 times and eventually committing murders. Right. And then when they do commit murders, well, Steve Descano decides that the better part of civilization is to give them weak sentences. Right. Because maybe if we're really nice to the people murdering us, they'll feel bad about it and they won't be as murdery in the future. Maybe that's what will happen. Right. But you know what, Nick, look, Steve Descano is one Commonwealth's attorney in Virginia. How are you going to claim that that is the primary reason? Like, oh, wait a second. Nope, I'm sorry. This was a bill from 2020 Special Session 1. And who was the patron here? Who was the patron of this bill that set up an elaborate sentence credit program to let people out of jail early to include violent offenders? Oh, it was Don Scott, the current Speaker of the House of Virginia. That's right. Ever since Don Scott got there, and I remember when he came in as a freshman, he kind of had a crusade that he was on to try to get people out of jail early. And we're not talking about people that were falsely convicted or exonerated on overwhelming evidence and DNA and things. No. No, these were people that actually broke the law. But Don thought it would be nicer and it'd be better and more beneficial for society if we took away the guns of private citizens as we were letting violent felons out of jail early. And you can understand why Don might like this. It's because Don did a quick stint in a federal penitentiary, 7 years, because he was trafficking cocaine. So you can understand why he was so sympathetic, because after all, if the system had been so mean to him for doing something as simple and as meaningless as trafficking cocaine, well, then clearly the system had put a bunch of people in jail that didn't deserve to be there, right? I mean, that's absolutely how we should look at something like that. And now this guy is the Speaker of the House of the Commonwealth of Virginia. But you know what? It doesn't stop there. It doesn't stop there. Remember Abigail Spanberger? Because Abigail Spanberger is a moderate, boys and girls. Abigail Spanberger used to be a law enforcement officer with the post office. And so she understands what fighting crime is all about, like mail fraud. But when it came to Don Scott wanting to let people out of jail early, Democrats didn't have a problem with it. When it came to Steve Descano not wanting to thoroughly prosecute somebody that had 30 prior arrests to include other violent crimes, and then he gets out and he murders somebody, and then ICE comes in and goes, hey, can you cooperate with this? Because whenever you punish this guy, we'd also like to kick him out of the country. Abigail Spanberger, moderate, former law enforcement, pro-gun, moderate Abigail Spanberger refused to cooperate with ICE. In fact, one of the first things that she did was rescind the executive order from Governor Youngkin cooperating with ICE. So that's right. Your moderate gubernatorial candidate who is just running on affordability and niceness makes her first act as she goes into the governor's office to rescind an executive order to cooperate with federal law enforcement to get violent people out of our country. right? And then the same person that said, I own a gun. I'm pro-gun. I just want common sense gun laws, signs a sweeping ban, which, by the way, is so ambiguous, right? Delegate Wren Williams. I got to give Delegate Wren Williams, Tom Garrett, several others credit for this because they've been bringing this up on the floor. They wrote the language so ambiguously that here's a question. If I own an AR-15, right? Now, technically, I'm still allowed to have it, but am I allowed to drive it to the range? Well, you're not supposed to have it on public roads. So I can't take my AR-15 on a public road with me. Now, there's certain provisions for hunting, but what if I just want to go to the range? What if I'm just driving to someone else to show them? Have I violated the law?